why is Vancouver's housing market so expensive? Well, maybe you've heard of the usual suspects. Foreign Chinese investors, greedy developers, or those new overpriced condominiums. But have you ever considered something like this house?
When you think of housing in Vancouver, you might think of this, but actually, most of it are neighborhoods like this. You have trees lining the street, lawns, houses with character, and maybe even some peace and quiet. But there's just one problem. Houses here cost literally millions of dollars. For most people, buying property in Vancouver is more or less unimaginable. Now, the issue here isn't that houses are expensive, it's the land beneath the houses that's expensive. And while there are many reasons for this, the underlying cause is that land is a limited resource, especially in Vancouver. We've got mountains to the north, mountains to the east, oceans to the west, and America to the south, all places you wouldn't want to live in. So the land that's left over is in short supply, and therefore really expensive. With that in mind, a key way to make housing more affordable in Vancouver is to fit more housing into the land that we do have to help share the cost of that land between more people. Instead of little houses, we need bigger buildings like condos, apartments, and mid-rises. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, I wish.
The reality is that places like this aren't changing anytime soon. And that is because of a little thing called zoning bylaws and land use regulation. Whoa. Stay with me here. I know this isn't exactly riveting stuff, so I'd like to give you some options.
So, option 1, a really cool guy dancing. Option 2, an explanation of zoning regulations. In cities, properties have rules, or zoning, saying what can and can't be built on the land. For example, properties can be zoned for a store, or an apartment, or a factory, or anything really. Well, in Vancouver, a lot of land is zoned for just one house, and basically nothing else. Take a look at this zoning map of Vancouver. All the areas in green are places that only allow for a house or a duplex. Yeah, it's a lot. In fact, according to the guys that made this map, those areas account for 81% of Vancouver's residential land. That's 81% of land where zoning regulations are preventing us from building any more housing into Vancouver. Now, this could be changing soon. Earlier this year, Vancouver City Council approved a plan called the Making Room program to change these regulations. Their long-term goal is to allow for buildings up to 4 stories tall in neighborhoods that currently allow for just a house. It's a promising step, but also don't expect this to happen easily.
Vancouver has tried adding housing into these neighborhoods many times in the past, and each time, these proposals have been met with fierce opposition and sometimes even protests.
You see, these zoning regulations aren't there by accident, and that is because residents that already own property here often don't like new developments that add more housing.
This increased densification that they're forcing on people doesn't make sense on a number of levels. Some neighborhoods obviously could use revitalization. Our particular neighborhood doesn't.
Some are concerned that more housing could lead to more traffic, more competition for parking spaces, and more noise, to name a few issues. But on top of that, many argue that new developments threaten the very character and heritage of their neighborhoods. For them, these zoning regulations are vital to protecting that.
And I think those concerns are understandable. Replacing houses with row houses, mid-rises, maybe even high-rises, is a drastic change that will absolutely reshape these neighborhoods. But at the same time, protecting the character of these neighborhoods might be the very thing that is leaving out most of us from Vancouver's housing market. Well, that's it for this video. For our next video, I hope you come with me to the West End, where we'll swing into the topic of why rents are so darn expensive in Vancouver. I'll see you then.